No, Pika, that wasn't a bottle of drinking water. That was our holy water. What are we gonna do with a vampire? Hi, how's it going? Welcome back once again. It's time for the 31 days of Halloween. It is October the 16th. On the 16th day of Halloween, a vampire gave to me a tale set in modernity. Oh gosh, you're getting worse at this. Please knock that off, Eric. Hi, we're doing horror movies every day, all month long in October. We'll do 31 horror movies leading up to Halloween, and one of my all-time favorite horror movies, which is culturally significant to me too. It's cute. I'll get to there when I get to there. This is hello. Let's roll that beautiful bean footage. I love starting off with the trailer, and then I play the movie at a fast speed, just to give us something to look at. This is Dracula, A.D. 1972. It is a 1972 Hammer horror movie. This is our fourth in my series of Christopher Lee Hammer horror movies of him playing Dracula, and this is we bring Dracula into the modern day. And it's interesting. So modern day London is just as much as a character as the rest of the cast, which makes it gives it a noir kind of quality. Noir being one of the tenets of noir is that your background, your city, is just as much as a character as your protagonist, your antagonist, and whomever is in the story, having dialogue. And I'm not saying this is noir. No. I am saying, though, that London is most definitely a character in this. And this is really interesting. And it brings back Peter Cushing to play opposite to Christopher Lee. Peter Cushing is Van Helsing, but he's a descendant of the original Van Helsing. It starts off in 1872, where Van Helsing is chasing down Count Dracula in that famous, overused footage of them on the buggy chase, and then it flash forwards 100 years later, and we are met with a group of young people in London, and it's 1972, and we have there's a couple of guys, a couple of gals, and they like to party, and they like to get into trouble. They're just young people. What do young people do with all that energy? They hang out, they romance, they enjoy music, they dance. It seems kind of druggy, huh? And I think that was perhaps the whole point of it, was just like this hedonism that got ushered in by the late 60s, the sexual revolution, second wave feminism, and a lot of just thinking outside the box. In a couple of years, actually in London, I'm in England. Let me look this up real quick so I could just England. Oh Lord. Yeah, and the Sexual Offenses Act of 1967. It it was no longer illegal. Homosexual activity between men had been illegal for centuries. There was never an explicit ban on same-sex activity between women. In the 1950s, there was an increase of prosecution against gay men, and several well-known people had been convicted. But in 1967, this was made. It was made illegal. Was this the one, or there was something that? Oh my goodness! Am I thinking of the wrong one? The legacy of this was took place in so in the late 70s, this law would get repealed, and wow. Maybe I have to reshoot this. Oh, okay. It was no. The age of consent for same-sex relationships between males was um, was lowered to 18, um, and an attempt to equalize the heterosexual age of consent at 16. And the law also extended the definition of grape to include male grape, and until then the latter had been prosecuted simply as buggery. So yeah, so this was it it stopped making gay relationships illegal. Yeah. So let's put that on high speed. Yeah, and that was the sense of like, but the freedom of England around this time. It was a very interesting time to be British and to be, to be free and young. I mean, now you have, a freedom that was never granted upon previous generations. So, it was this reveling of style and of hedonism and alternate lifestyles, and it's got some gay coding in here. We've talked about this before. Talk about it again. It's in the group of friends, and yeah, and we had some modern music in here. Now we have all this footage. Maybe there was a lot of stock footage of London that they got to recycle or something. But yeah, and this movie also stars. We have our two ingenues. We have our Virgin and our whore. We have our Madonna and our Magdalene. We have our Mina and our Lucy, and we have Jessica Van Helsing, who is the granddaughter of Lawrence Van Helsing, or Lorimer Van Helsing. Yeah, Lorimer. This is now it's 1972, and Lorimer Van Helsing keeps his books of the occult and all this, arcane knowledge. And his granddaughter Jessica, played by the beautiful 25-year-old Stephanie Beacham, goes to her grandfather's house to borrow some books on occult, so her and her friends can perform a black mass. This is really wow. This is predates heavy metal and the whole scare of satanic things becoming accessible to young people, and that young people will be performing these satanic and devilish acts, and just, oh my goodness. But it was all a gas. It was all, well, seemingly most of everyone except one, Johnny Alucard, was doing this for a gas, for doing this for kicks. And Johnny Alucard was literally trying to bring back Dracula. Yes, because his family has been a thrall of the Draculas. Actually, Alucard, as Van Helsing is using deductive reasoning, the simple deductive reasoning of cinema. Alucard is actually an anagram of Dracula. Mom. And so, so we have Stephanie Beacham, but we also have Laura Bellows, played by the 23-year-old Caroline Munro, one of England's most beautiful 70s actresses, in my humble opinion. Big crush on Caroline Munro. Seriously. Star Crash, she was still a star. 1979 Star Crash. 8, 9, oh my goodness. Yes, please. Hello. Hi. And Caroline Munro also had 2 uncredited performances in our first and second movies that we covered this month. The Abominable Dr. Phibes and Dr. Phibes Rises Again. She played Virginia, the dead wife, who was lying in stasis. She didn't have any words. She just lied there. It was an uncredited cameo. She's not in the credits. That's what uncredited means. But yeah, and I just want to say that we have been watching these movies from my DVD and Blu-ray collection. I'm a big celebrant of my physical media collection, and you should too. And I am of the school of Robert Meyer Burnett and the post-geek singularity, and I'm into physical media. Can't you tell? This is just, part of it. I mean, yeah, I mean, hello. This is the stack of movies that we're referring to just just for this month. And I've got more movies coming, especially for next year. Hello, that's Johnny Alucard. Can you figure that out? The blonde guy, and just. But it also reminds me, it's charming. This movie's charming as hell. It reminds me of me and my friends. You know, at that age, young 20s, there was just like, you have this, remember the sitcom Friends on NBC? You might see it on Netflix, that classic show. And I had that too, and it was a wonderful, blessed time. We were guys and gals. We're all hanging out. We were of age. We could sleep with each other. We can sleep with whoever we want. You have to deal with those consequences. I'm not saying we did or didn't. I made a lot of friends. And we had, smoked a lot of cigarettes, drank a lot of beer, stayed up a lot of nights talking around a coffee table, just talking about anything. That's we were geeks, we were nerds, we worked together, and it was a nice social scene. And it's nice to be like these young people, freshly, grown up, and trying on the role of the young adult and leading this, this new life in the modern times, especially with, all of these restrictions coming down, and especially with, the Sexual Offense Act of 1967 and with second wave feminism too. I mean, so there's a lot going on in the 70s. Yeah, this is just the sexual revolution, free love, and rock and roll. And disco was about to happen too. This was an age of glamour and of fashion and of style. And here we are. Yeah, there's Stephanie Beacham barely dressed in a sheer negligee, and that's the titillation that we've come to accept from these for these Hammer horror movies. And I think that in itself was a big draw too. The next movie, the same character, Jessica Van Helsing, is going to be played by Joanna Lumley. You might remember her from Absolutely Fabulous. She plays Patsy, the former supermodel that hangs out with her best friend Adina, and all they do is sweetie, sweetie, darling, sweetie, and drink and party. And it's Absolutely Fabulous is a funny show. And but yeah, but here it's like. And so here's Van Helsing with the two cops. These cops come back for the next one, so they're kind of like, Lord Andrew and Dr. Seward and Jonathan Harker in a way. Quincy Morris, but Quincy Morris dies. He gets killed, and we have our Mina and we have our Lucy, and this is just. And it's really fun. And London is most definitely a character in this too. Sorry, I kind of stammered a bit in the earlier here, but this is unscripted, unfiltered, unedited. It's and it's part of my lo-fi charm. Yeah. And it legalized homosexual acts in England and Wales in 1967. Before that, your entire culture had a legal thing to say that, same-sex love was illegal. And yeah, this is the progress we've come. So now we can look at something like this from our vantage point in history of now and see how far we've come as a people. And yeah, so there's, lots of sexuality involved in a vampire movie, especially with a vampire's thrall. Going back to Renfield, even going back to the 1931, I'm pretty darn sure that there was like some basic gay coding between Bela Lugosi's Dracula and his Renfield. And you'll get the same, I think, with every male thrall, with the servant, the Igor, one could say, because there is penetration involved with the phallic teeth. There is an exchange of bodily fluids with blood being drank. There is the master subservient relationship, and which is like, this is part of all relationships. Someone has to lead, someone has to follow, especially in dancing. There's a lot of equality involved, yes, but a lot of the time comes down to one of the other leads and the other one follows. I guess, I don't know. I'm not an expert on relationships, but I am pretty keen on vampire movies and everything that comes with it. It's a bundle of different themes, especially very basic human themes like sexuality, and this is bringing our vampire, into our modernity and into our now. And so we're going to have 2 vampire movies set in our now. Oh, kind of. I mean, this was 50 years ago. Damn, London's come a long way. The world's come a long way, too. Yeah. Maybe it's time for me to break down and watch a vampire movie set today. I actually got some good suggestions. Let the Right One In, the original one. And I don't know. Why don't you leave me a suggestion for a modern vampire movie? I accept suggestions. I want to know what you think. Let me know. I would love to hear your suggestion of a modern vampire movie. Please keep them coming. Thank you so very much. Like and subscribe. I would love to earn your subscription. I make daily content. We talk about comic books every day. We're talking about horror movies every day. It's the 31 days of Halloween. It's been the 16th day of Halloween. A vampire gave to me. Yeah, don't go there. Knock that off. Enough. Whose idea was that? Have a great day. Thank you so much. God bless. Namaste. Wear garlic. Have a wooden stake by your side and maybe a crucifix and some holy water. I don't believe you drank that. You are wholly responsible for that, Pika. Have a good one. Bye-bye.